I never thought I'd kill a man with my bare hands, but when the storm cracked open the sky and spat him back onto my shore after 15 years, I knew mercy was a luxury I'd buried with my old life. He washed up like a curse, gasping my name, Genesis, through salt-crusted lips, his eyes wild with the same lie that had stolen everything from me. And in that thunderclap moment, as rain lashed my face, I realized the betrayal I'd carried like a millstone wasn't over. It was just reloading. The wind howled like a banshee off the Atlantic, rattling the lighthouse windows I'd scrubbed 1,000 times since they shipped me out here to this godforsaken rock off the coast of Maine. Penobscot Island, population me, the gulls, and whatever ghosts the tide drags in. It's 2025, and folks back on the mainland are glued to their TikToks and AI girlfriends. But out here, time sticks like barnacles.
I'm Genesis Hale,
42 years old, with hands calloused from hauling fuel cans up spiral stairs and a soul scarred from a choice I made in a Boston courtroom 15 years ago. Lighthouse keeper. Sounds romantic, like some Hemingway wet dream, but it's just a slow bleed, endless nights logging beam rotations, foghorn blasts that rattle your teeth, and the isolation that creeps in like damp rot. Keeps the secrets buried deep.
though.
That's why they stuck me here after the plea deal. Public service, the judge called it. Bullshit. It was exile. 15 years. That's how long it's been since Tommy Voss, my brother, my blood, my goddamn anchor, vanished into the harbor mist after I took the fall for him. We grew up in Southie, Boston's underbelly, where the three-deckers lean like drunks and the Codfather's ghost still haunts the wharves. Tommy was the golden boy, sharp jaw, sharper tongue, the kid who could talk his way out of a Vatican confessional.
Me?
I was the muscle, the fixer, the one who cleaned up when his charm ran dry. Our old man died in flashbacks. Mom OD'd on fentanyl when we were teens, so it was us against the world. Or so I thought. It started with a score. Tommy had this side hustle, smuggling knockoff oxy through the docks, cutting deals with the Irish syndicates who ran the waterfront like it was still prohibition. Low-level stuff. Until he got greedy. He cooked a batch that killed 3 junkies in Revere. Bad cut. Laced with fentanyl from some Mexican cartel hookup he swore was legit. The feds swarmed, badges flashing like holy water on vampires. Tommy panicked, pinned it on me, said I was the one mixing, that I was the mule. I was 27, fresh out of community college with a welding cert, dreaming of a legit gig at the shipyard. But family,
Right?
blood's thicker than the Charles River. I lawyered up with a public defender who looked like he'd slept in his suit. Plea bargain, 10 to 15 for manslaughter. Reduced to community service in the boonies if I kept my mouth shut about Tommy's disappearance. He staged it perfect, faked a boating accident, sank a skiff off Gloucester with a distress call that went unanswered in the fog. Coast Guard wrote him off as chum for the blues. I signed the papers, swallowed the lie, and they ferried me to this spit of granite where the light still spins, warning ships away from rocks that look a hell of a lot like my regrets. Life here? Routine's my religion. Dawn, check the diesel generator. Brew Folgers strong enough to strip paint. Midday, trudge the perimeter trail, picking up driftwood and beer cans from weekend yachters who think no trespassing is optional. Dusk, climb the tower, polish the Fresnel lens till it gleams like a guilty conscience. Nights, I crack a 6-pack of Sam Adams, stare at the beam cutting the dark, and wonder if Tommy's sipping my ties in Cancun or rotting in some pine box the ocean forgot. The radio crackles with no warnings, but mostly it's silence. The kind that echoes. That changed on a Tuesday in November. The kind of nor'easter that makes you question God's sense of humor. Barometer plunging, swells topping 20 feet. The kind of blow that strands ferries and floods Portland streets. I was in the lantern room, wrestling the storm shutters, when the VHF sputtered to life. Not a mayday, worse. A voice. Faint and ragged. Genesis. Gale force. Inbound. Hold the light. My blood turned to ice water. Tommy. No mistaking that Southie drawl, even garbled by static and salt water. I froze. Hand on the throttle. The beam sweeping lazy circles over boiling foam. 15 years of nothing. And now this, part of me wanted to kill the power. Let the rocks claim him. But the keeper's oath, or whatever bullshit code they drilled into me, kicked in. I fired up the auxiliary horn, triple blasted the all-ships signal, and scanned the horizon with binoculars fogged by my breath. There, half a mile out, a speck bobbing like a cork in a blender. A 14-foot Boston whaler. The same make Tommy sank back in '09. No running lights. Hull battered like it had kissed every reef from here to Halifax. Lightning forked the sky, and for a split second, I saw him, hunched over the wheel, slicker flapping, face gaunt under a beard gone wild.
Alive.
The bastard was alive. I radioed the Coast Guard out of Costini, protocol, but the storm swallowed their response. Affirmative. Penobscot. We're en route. ETA 2 hours. 2 hours? He'd be splintered flotsam by then. Cursing every saint I could remember, I grabbed the inflatable Zodiac from the boathouse, lashed on life jackets and a first aid kit, and shoved off into the maelstrom. Waves slapped the dinghy like angry gods, wind-shearing spray that stung like needles. The motor coughed against the chop, but I gunned it. The lighthouse's beam my North Star. He spotted me when I was 50 yards out, throttled down, and threw a line that I snagged on the third try. Tommy hauled himself aboard, collapsing in a heap of soaked denim and desperation, retching seawater. Up close, he was a ruin, eyes sunken like tide pools, skin sallow under salt crust, the once cocky grin twisted into something feral. "Jen," he wheezed, clutching my arm with fingers like claws. "You held the light. Knew you would." I wanted to shove him back into the drink. Instead, I yanked the tiller and powered for shore, the Zodiac bucking like a bronco. 15 years.
Tommy.
You got some explaining. His laugh was a bark, drowned by thunder. Explaining? Brother. I got a lifetime. We beached hard on the gravel spit, waves clawing at our heels as I dragged him up the path to the keeper's cottage. The storm door banged shut behind us, sealing out the gale, but not the reckoning. I dumped him on the worn plaid couch, fired up the wood stove, and tossed him a towel that smelled of pine sol. He stripped to boxers, shivering, while I microwaved chili from a can, nothing fancy, but it was hot. We didn't speak till he shoveled the last spoonful, steam rising like ghosts between us. "Start talking," I said, cracking a beer, but not offering one. The lantern's glow cast long shadows, turning his face into a mask of hollows. Tommy wiped his mouth, eyes darting like he expected feds to kick in the door. "It wasn't supposed to go down like that."
Jen.
"The batch, the bad one, I thought it was clean." But Rico, that cartel prick, he cut it heavy. I found out too late. Cops closing in. I had to bolt. Faked the sink. Hitched a ride on a trawler to Halifax. Lived rough, Nova Scotia fisheries. Then down to Florida Keys. Hauling charter. Changed names. Burned bridges. But it ate at me. You taking the heat. Christ. I owed you. Owed me. The word tasted like bile. I did 8 months in county. Then this purgatory. Lost the girl, Sarah. Lost the shop job. Lost everything. For you. He flinched, but his eyes hardened. I sent money. Wired it anonymous to your account. Couple grand a year. Figured it squared us. I laughed. Cold and sharp. Squared? Tommy. You left me holding the bag for murder. Manslaughter. Sure. But those families? They got vigils. Headlines. I got whispers and a one-way ticket to nowhere. Maine. The fire popped. Embers flaring. Outside. The storm raged on. Wind moaning through the eaves. Tommy leaned forward, voice dropping to a conspirator's hush. There's more. Rico's boys, they never stopped looking. Thought I snitched, even though I didn't. Last month, they cornered me in Key Largo, put a bullet in my shoulder. He yanked down his collar, revealing a puckered scar, pink and fresh. I ran. Stole that whaler. Pointed her north. Knew you'd be here. Only one who wouldn't turn me in.
Turn him in.
The thought flickered. Coast Guard chopper inbound. One call, and he'd be cuffed. Extradited. Rotting in Walpole till gray. But blood's a stubborn stain. Sleep, I grunted, tossing him a blanket. We talk at dawn. Storm's gotta break first. He crashed on the couch, snoring ragged by midnight. I climbed to the lantern room, the beam's rhythm a metronome to my racing pulse. 15 years. And here he was. Flesh and fault lines. Betrayal's a slow poison. But revenge? That's the antidote that burns going down. As lightning etched the sea in silver, I wondered if the real storm was just beginning. Morning came gray and grudging. The nor'easter downgraded to a drizzle that pattered the tin roof like guilty fingers. Tommy stirred when I banged the kettle, brewing coffee black as my mood. He looked marginally human, showered in the lean-to, borrowed flannel hanging loose on his frame. We sat at the scarred oak table, mugs steaming, the radio murmuring updates, power out in Bangor. Ferries canceled till noon.
Plan.
I asked, straight to it. No hugs. No tears. Hail men don't do Hallmark. He sipped.
Winced.
Lay low here a week. Heal up. Then slip south, maybe Mexico. Rico's reach ends at the border. Here, this ain't a safe house.
Tommy.
It's my sentence. Feds check in monthly. Drone flies over quarterly. You show your mug. We're both sunk. His grin flashed. The old Tommy peeking through. Come on,
Jen.
brother code. You kept the light last night. That's gotta count. It counted for shit. But as he spun his tale, tales of bar fights in Biloxi. A fling with a Cuban diver in Miami. Narrow escapes from tats in Halifax. I felt the pull. The kid I'd protected from bullies in the schoolyard. The one who'd split his first paycheck to buy me a Bruins jersey. Buried under the lies.
Yeah. But there.
By afternoon, the skies cracked open. Blue peeking like a bruise healing. Coast Guard called off the search, chalked it up to a ghost signal in the static. Tommy helped with chores, coiling lines, scraping lichen from the tower base. Domestic. Almost. Like old times, minus the warrants. That night, over canned stew and a bottle of bourbon I'd been nursing since July 4th, he dropped the bomb. "There's stash," he said, swirling amber. "From the old days. Buried cash, oxy-tabs, pure, worth $500,000 on the street. I hid it in the family plot.
St.
Augustine's cemetery. Under Mom's stone. If we dig it, split it, we both walk away kings." My fork clattered. "Dig up Mom? For dope? Jesus. Tommy. Not dope insurance. Rico's got markers on me. This evens the scales." His eyes gleamed. Schemer's light. "You in?" I stared at the flame. Shadows dancing. Betrayals echo. But opportunities whisper. "Southey rules," I muttered. "Family first," he hooped. Clinked glasses. "Liar's toast." As he crashed early, I slipped out to the cliff edge. See whispering secrets. Kings or corpses? The light spun on. Indifferent. The plan coalesced over the next 3 days. A fragile thing woven from necessity and nostalgia. Tommy's shoulder mended under my rough field dressings, iodine stings, and aspirin chasers, and his stories flowed like the bourbon we rationed. He painted a life in exile that sounded half adventure, half purgatory, crewing shrimp boats in the Gulf, dodging hurricanes that made this nor'easter feel like a summer shower, bartending in dive joints where the jukebox spun Springsteen and the patrons swapped tales of the one that got away, meaning fish or fortunes. He claimed he'd gone straightish, welded pipelines in the Everglades, even sent postcards to Sarah under a fake name, and signed regrets.
Lies.
Probably. But they softened the edges of my rage.
Me?
I played the dutiful host. But inside, the gears ground. Every laugh we shared over cribbage, him cheating like always, twisted the knife. I'd lost Sarah to that plea. She waited 6 months. Then the ring came back via FedEx. No crisp as the judge's gavel. Can't build on sand. Janelle. Hearing Tommy's casual mentions of her, how he'd checked in from afar, stirred something venomous. Not jealousy.
Exactly.
Possession. The life he'd torpedoed was mine to reclaim. Or burn. We prepped in stolen hours. I tuned the whaler, new spark plugs from my emergency kit, patched the hull with epoxy and fiberglass scraps. Tommy sketched the cemetery layout on butcher paper. X marking Mom's grave under the weeping willow. St. Augustine's, South Boston's old Irish patch. Marble angels guarding secrets since the famine ships. Dig at midnight. Midweek, less eyes from the night shift cops patrolling Avenue. Ferry from Rockland on Thursday. Low tide for the crossing. Simple. Too simple. Wednesday night. The itch hit. Tommy was out cold. But I couldn't sleep. The beam's pulse sinking with my heartbeat like a taunt. I fired up the shortwave. Tuned to Boston AM. WEI droning Pat's highlights. But I flipped to news. Authorities investigating cold case revival. Manslaughter probe from 2009. New chips on missing witness. My gut clenched. Someone talking? Sarah? Or Tommy's loose lips in the keys? Dawn broke with him whistling Dirty Water while frying eggs on my hot plate. Nervous. Bro, he asked, plating up.
Praktikal, Elite.
Forking yoke. We hit the mainland. Ghosts wake up. He waved it off. Water under the bridge. Or boat.
Ha.
But his eyes flicked to the window. Sea churning mild. Schemers tell. The ferry ride was a pressure cooker. We boarded the Scotia Prince at dawn. Tommy in a Red Sox cap, pulled low. Me in oilskins blending with the lobstermen hauling traps. The deck smelled of diesel and bait. Gulls wheeling like spies. He chattered about scores, the Sox choking in the playoffs. Brady long retired but still God, but I watched the wake. Mind mapping contingencies. If feds boarded, blame the storm. Lost trawler. If Tommy bolted, let him. But the cash, that was leverage. Boston hit like a hangover, traffic snarling on 93. Riders, shoulder to shoulder. The air thick with clam shack grease and exhaust. We ditched the rental Chevy in a Long Island lot, unmarked. Cash and cab to Southie. The neighborhood, a palimpsest of our youth. The triple-deckers still sagged. Murals of the Blessed Mother faded on brick. But gentrification nipped at the edges. Artisanal brew pubs where O'Leary's used to sling drafts. Tommy pointed landmarks like a tour guide. Remember the stoop where we hot-wired Finnegan's Pinto? Good times. I grunted. Throat tight. Good times ended when you ghosted. Brother. St. Augustine's waited at dusk. Gates creaking under ivy chokehold. We parked a block off. Hoodies up. Packs slung with shovels and a collapsible cart. The air hummed with crickets and distant sirens. The willow's branches clawing the moon. Mom Stone. Eleanor Hale. Beloved Mother. 1955 to 2003. In God's Harbor. Irony.
That.
Tommy knelt. Traced her name with fingers that shook. Missed you.
Ma.
Then dirt flew. Methodical. I spelled him. Soil black and loamy. Roots snagging like accusations. 30 minutes in. Sweat slicking. The shovel hit metal a lockbox. Rusted but intact. The size of a cooler.
We hauled it topside.
Pried the lid. Bricks vacuum sealed. Stamped Purdue Pharma ghosts. Toxicon. 80 milligrams tabs. Enough to numb a city block. Jackpot. Tommy breathed. Pocketing a stray pill like a talisman. But as we refilled the hole, headlights swept the access road. A cruiser. Slow patrol. We froze. Shadows merging with the willow. It idled. Spotlight probing. Then rolled on. Heart hammering. We lugged the box to the car. Adrenaline sour. Back at the motel, a flea bag on Morrissey. Tommy cracked the bourbon again. Split it here? Or fence in Philly?
Philly, I said.
Less heat. But my mind raced. This haul? It could buy a new start, Alaska fisheries. Or a ranch in Montana. Sarah's dream we'd whispered about. Or it could bury him. He crashed early.
Buzzed.
I slipped out for smokes. But detoured to a payphone, yes. They still exist in Southie dives. Dialed Sarah's old number. Half praying it had changed. It hadn't. Genesis. Her voice. Smoke honey after all these years.
How?
Long story. Tommy's back. Silence. Then, alive? God. We talked an hour, her in Cambridge now. Adjunct prof, at MIT. Married to a venture guy. Kid in grade school. No bitterness. Just the ache of roads diverged. He reached out last year, she admitted. From Florida. Said he was sorry. Wanted to make it right. I hung up. My fist clenched on the receiver. He's here. With me. Be careful.
Jen.
Tommy's always been his own tide. pulls you under. I hung up, the night closing like a fist. Back in the room, Tommy snored, box under the bed like a sleeping dragon. I palmed a brick, weight heavy as guilt. Revenge wasn't just digging up the past, it was deciding who gets the shovel. Thursday blurred. Fence contact in Philly. A Syrian expat in a Kensington warehouse who lowballed but paid cash, $4 $20K split even. After his cut, Tommy haggled like old times, charm on full. While I watched the door, Glock 19 tucked in my waistband, keeper's perk, wildlife control. We drove south in a borrowed F-150. I-95 a ribbon of taillights. Radio blasting NPR on election recounts. Harris versus whoever the GOP scraped up this cycle, irrelevant noise. He was loose by Baltimore. Plotting big. We bank this. Buy a charter in the Keys. You run ops. I schmooze clients. Brothers Vosshale. Inc. Vosshale. I echoed. Tasting ash. Family. Reloaded. But in a Maryland rest stop. Piss yellow, lights buzzing. I caught him on the phone, burner. Voice low. Yeah. Rico. It's me. Got the score. Meet in Savannah. Split 3 ways. He pocketed it quick. But not quick enough. My vision tunneled. Betrayal. Round 2. The secret I'd borne? Not just the fall, the bodies. Tommy hadn't just fled. He'd framed me deeper. Planted evidence in my truck to seal the deal. Sarah confirmed it last night. After I pressed a thumb drive of confessions he'd forged, dropped anonymous to the DA. I tailed him back to the truck. Mind a storm.
Confront?
Or play long. The cash burned in the glove box, my half. His half. Rico's cut he'd skim. That night in a Savannah motel, palms rattling outside, I made my choice. Controversial. Yeah, blood for blood. But twisted. I laced his flask with Ambien from the kit. Watched him slug it back. As he slumped, mumbling dreams, I zip-tied his wrists, gagged him with a rag. Not to kill. Not yet. To extract. Tommy, I whispered, slapping his face till eyes fluttered. Time to flip the script, he mumbled through the gag. Eyes wide with the old fear. Good. Savannah's humidity clung like a fever dream. Spanish moss dripping from live oaks like nooses in the pre-dawn haze. The motel room reeked of stale smoke and betrayal. Tommy trussed to a chair I'd wedged under the desk. His muffled curses a dull rhythm against the AC's hum. I'd stripped the cash from the box, my half secured in a hidden compartment under the truck's bench seat. His stashed in a duffel I forgot to mention. The Rico call? That was the fracture line. 15 years I'd carried his sins. Now he'd pay toll. I brewed instant in the bathroom sink. Black and bitter. And paced as he woke fully. Sweat beading on his brow. Here's the deal. Brother, I said, pulling the gag. You called your cartel pal. Planning to stiff me, right? After I dug the dirt for you. He coughed. Throat raw. Jen. Listen, it's not. Save it. I held up his burner. Screen cracked but text intact. Coordinates for a dockside meet. 50% plus product sample. This ain't family. This is you. Same snake. New skin. His eyes darted. Calculating. Schemers pivot. Okay. Yeah. Rico's leverage, he's got photos.
Proof I didn't snitch back then.
Said he'd leak. Unless I cut him in. But we can triple team. You.
Thank
Him. Bigger score. Lies on lies. I leaned in, close enough to smell the fierce sweat. You framed me deeper than the plea. Forged that drive. Planted the baggies. Sarah told me. Mentioning her name cracked him, face crumpling like wet newsprint. I had to. Jen, they were coming hard. If I went down, who'd look after? After what? Yourself? I backhanded him. Not hard, but enough to split his lip. Blood flecked the carpet. Copper tang sharp. Controversial? Hell. Yeah, brothers don't clock each other. But the line blurred long ago. He sagged, voice breaking. I was scared. 27. Immortal till I wasn't. Those junkies. Their ghosts chased me every port. I wired the money. Jen. Every cent I could. For you. For me? Or absolution. I untied one hand, slid him the coffee. Mercy. Or bait. Talk true. All of it. And he did. Floodgates cracking. The full rot. Not just the bad batch. But kickbacks to a crooked cop, Detective Hale. No relation. Irony's joke, who tipped the syndicates? Tommy skimmed extra. Got burned. The disappearance wasn't solo. Hale staged it. Pocketed insurance payout. Vanished to Vegas rumors. And the bodies? One wasn't random. A rival dealer's kid. Targeted to send a message. Tommy pulled the trigger on the mix. Knowing the risk. Collateral, he called it. Cold calculus. My stomach roiled. I'd confessed to manslaughter for ghosts I didn't summon. Shielded a killer who'd orphaned siblings. Why me? I whispered. The room spinning slow. You're the rock.
Jen.
Always were. Tears tracked his cheeks. Genuine or Oscar bait. I fucked up. But Rico, he's the devil now. Meets tonight. We ghost him. Take his cut. The flip, antagonist to ally. Or deeper ploy. I weighed it. The Glock's weight in my pocket, a siren song. Polarizing choice. Trust the tide. Or damn it with lead. We rolled out at dusk. Truck rumbling toward the Savannah River docks. Fog rolling off the water like cigarette smoke. Tommy rode shotgun. Wrists raw, but loose. Duffel of his share chained to his ankle with bike lock. Trust me, he murmured. Eyes on the mirrors. One play. I didn't. But revenge needs players, not pawns. The meat was at a derelict warehouse. Chain link rattling in the breeze. Container ships looming like metal behemoths. Rico waited under a sodium lamp, mid-40s. Suit crisp despite the heat. Flanked by two goons in linen shirts. Tats creeping like kudzu. Mexican through and through. Accent polished by LA. Exile. Voss. You look like shit warmed over. Tommy stepped out. Charm dialed up. Rough crossing. Carnal. But here's the gift. He tossed the sample brick. Rico caught it one-handed. Sniffed.
Nodded.
I hung back in shadows. Engine idling. Watching the dance. Handshakes. Murmurs in Spanglish. Then the pivot. Rico's smile sharpened. Your brother's here.
Voss.
The fall guy. Fed's got his scent. Cold case heat. Tommy stiffened. What? Insurance. Rico snapped fingers. Goons drew pieces, Glocks. Silencers threaded. He talks. You both swim with the gators. Betrayals echo chamber. Tommy spun. Eyes locking mine across the lot. Plea? Defiance? I gunned the engine. Headlights flooding the scene. Goons wheeled. Firing wild. Pings off the hood. Glass spiderwebbing. I floored it. Clipping one. Tommy diving for cover as Rico barked orders. Chaos bloomed. Shots cracking. Ricochets, whining. The river a black mirror to muzzle flares. Tommy popped up, snatching a dropped piece. Blasting back, double tap to a goon's knee. Scream piercing the night. I braked hard. Door flying, he piled in. Rico's brick in his fist. Go. We peeled out. Tires screeching. Sirens wailing distant. Heart pounding. I merged onto I-16. Speedometer kissing 90. You set me up? No. He reloaded the stolen Glock. Hands shaking. Rico flipped, knew about you all along. Hale must have sold us out. The web tightened. Crooked cop. Cartel strings. Brothers entangled. Blood on the dash. Adrenaline sour. South, I growled. Florida. Your boat. Your bolt hole. He nodded, but his eyes, calculating. Another flip inbound? We ditched the truck in Jacksonville. Torched it in a palmetto thicket, gasoline bloom lighting the stars. Hitchhiked south on 95. Thumbs out to semis hauling citrus. Days blurred, motel hops. Cash burning. Tommy's stories turning confessional. He admitted more. The fling in Halifax wasn't casual. A kid. Maybe. Unclaimed. Didn't want to drag you into that mess. And Sarah? He'd stalked her feeds. Anonymous likes. A ghost haunting her highlights. Rage simmered. But the road forged uneasy truce. By Key Largo. We were frayed conspirators. Holing in his old charter shack, driftwood walls. Conch shells rattling in the breeze. The whaler waited. Gassed. But Rico's shadow loomed. Text to burners. Whispers of heat. That night, over conch fritters and Key West ale, he proposed the endgame. We sell the rest clean, through a fence in Nassau. Split 3 ways, you. And a trust for Sarah's kid. Redemption arc. Controversial as hell. Launder blood money for family, but the kid wasn't mine. And Sarah's life glowed without us. Why her? 'Cause you loved her. Still do. His grin. Rueful. And I owe you that much. I swallowed it, but sleep evaded. Dawn brought the twist. Coast Guard bulletin on the shortwave. Suspect in 2009 Boston manslaughter identified. Fleeing south. Armed. Dangerous. My face. Pixelated. Tommy's too. Hale had flipped full. Ratting for immunity. We bolted. Whaler slicing turquoise. But Chop built fast, squall line marching west. Halfway to Bimini. Engines sputtered. Fuel line clogged. Waves swelled. Sky bruising. Tommy wrestled the bilge pump. Cursing, I held the wheel. Horizon narrowing. Then the radio crackled. Rico's voice. Pirated frequency.
Voss.
Hale sold you both. Meet at the K. Or the kids die, yours, and the junkies' ghosts.
Kids?
Plural. Tommy's Halifax spawn? Or deeper? He paled. He knows about Elena. My daughter. The sea turned adversary. Swells cresting green. Trust fractured again. Whose lie was the deepest? The squall hit like divine wrath. Rain sheeting horizontal. Lightning stitching the horizon as the whaler labored toward Bimini's fringes. Elena, that name detonated like a depth charge. Tommy's maybe kid. now flesh with a target on her back.
How?
I bellowed over the roar. Salt spray flaying my face. Postcards, he yelled, bailing water with a bucket that sloshed useless. Send her ma updates. Stupid shit. Rico's got eyes everywhere. Hale fed him scraps for years.
Years.
The betrayal metastasized, roots delving deeper than I'd imagined. Not just a frame job, but a syndicate of sins. Crooked cop pimping intel.
Cartel collecting debts.
Tommy dancing on the strings. And me, the dupe. The lighthouse. Beaming warnings no one heeded. The engine coughed final. Dying with a whine. We drifted. Anchor chain rattling like chains. I lashed the tiller. Rigged a sea anchor from oars and line. Boy Scout knots from summers on the Neponset. Tommy collapsed beside me. Soaked and spent. She's 8.
Jen.
Innocent. Then why run to me? Use me as bait again. His eyes met mine. Storm-lashed.
Raw.
'Cause you're the only one who'd fight for her. For us.
Us.
The word hung. Polarizing as a jury poll. Fight for a niece I never knew. Built on a brother's corpse of lies? Or cut loose? Let the sea sort the guilty? Waves hoisted us like a toy. Thunder rumbling judgment. Coast Guard chatter pierced the static. Vessel adrift. Penobscot Registry. Armed fugitives aboard. Heat closing. Choppers inbound. Tommy keyed the mic. Desperate play. Mayday. This is gale force. Medical emergency. Request evac. Roger. Position? Dispatched clipped. Efficient. He rattled chords. Fudged the tail. Heart attack. One's soul aboard. Me omitted. A ghost in the fog. They bought it. ETA, 30 mics. We huddled. Rain drumming. As he spilled the rest. Elena, born in a Halifax clinic. Tommy posing as a lobsterman. Wiring support till Rico's net snagged the trail. Hale, alive in Reno. Running a poker room. Trading old sins for new. He called me last year, Tommy admitted. Said the feds were sniffing, cold case podcaster. Some true crime hack digging the overdose files. Offered to bury it for a cut. And you paid. With what? Prayers. Bitter laugh. Told him to fuck off. Guess he shopped us to Rico instead. The chopper thumped distant. Searchlight probing like a prosecutor's glare. I weighed the flip. Untie Tommy. Swim for it? Or ride the lie? Bargain my surrender for his bolt? Controversial calculus. Sacrifice self for blood. Or damn the spawn for peace. Go, I said, slapping the life jacket on him. Take the dinghy. Paddle east. I'll play decoy. He gripped my arm. Eyes fierce.
No.
Brother.
Now.
I shoved him over. Inflatable splashing dark. The light swept, pinning me solo. Here, I radioed. One man down. They winched me aboard. Medevac hum vibrating bones. Tommy's speck vanishing in the troughs. Paramedics jabbed IVs. Questions flying. Name? Genesis Hale. The missing keeper? Affirmative. Back on Terra, Miami field office. Fluorescent hell. They Mirandized me gentle. Like a celebrity. Feds. 2 suits from Boston violent crimes. Coffee breath and wedding rings. Voss is alive. I spilled.
No lawyer yet.
He came to me. Storm landed. The cash? Old debt. But Hale, check Reno PD. He's the snake. They nodded. Typing furious. Sarah called that night. Collect from her Cambridge line, voice trembling. Saw the news. You okay? Breathing. Pause heavy. He has a kid. Elena. Silence. Then, I know. He told me, years back. Begged for help wiring money. I said no. Couldn't risk our boy.
Our boy.
The world tilted. Yours, Tommy's. Whisper. Shattering. That summer before the plea. You were working doubles, he comforted. I thought it was you. At first. The lies blurred. Betrayals Hydra. Not just frame. But cuckoldry. I'd raised her shadow unknowingly. Or mourned the ghost of a life stolen twice. Rage boiled. But pity tempered Sarah's cage of secrets. Kids' innocent eyes. Twist it, I said. Tell the feds. Leverage. I will. For you. Rico's meat? Busted wide. Bahamian constables raided the K.
Goons zip-tied.
Him, extradited screaming. Tommy vanished, poof. Into the blue. Feds leaned. Immunity for full debrief. I took it. Flipping on Hale. Who folded like cheap suit, confessed the plant. The insurance scam. The cartel tithes. Manslaughter charges dropped, mine. Anyway. Tommy's? Open warrant. Fugitive forever. Released on recognizance. I ferried north. Penobscot waiting like a faithful dog. But the light felt dimmer. Beam mocking my blindness. Sarah visited once. Awkward tea in the cottage. Her boy hour? His? Shy with freckles like mine. Or Tommy's. Lies layered.
Truth a mosaic.
Months ground. Hearings. Depositions. Headlines fading to filler. Lighthouse hero unmasked syndicate.
Bull.
I was the patsy promoted. Tommy's trail cooled, sighting in Curacao. Another in Belize. Elena? Safe. Her ma relocated with Fed protection. Sarah and I? Dinners in Rockland. Tentative bridges. We rebuild, she said. Hand on mine. No ghosts. But ghosts don't die, they dock. One gale night. VHF crackled. Jen. Inbound. Hold the light. Again. I climbed the tower. Beams sweeping furiously. There, whaler ghosting swells. Figure at the helm. Not Tommy. Her. Elena. 12 now.
No, wait.
Tommy. Elena beside him. Small hand in his. Stowaway daughter. Revenge's heir? I fired the horn.
Triple blast.
Welcome. Or warning. The storm broke with theatrical mercy. Clouds parting like a curtain call as the whaler nosed into the cove. I descended the tower stairs 2 at a time. Heart a war drum. The keeper's log forgotten on the console. Elena, Tommy's secret sprouted into a girl of maybe 10. Pigtails whipping. Life jacket dwarfing her frame. She waved, tentative. Eyes wide as the Atlantic. While Tommy tied off. His grin a defiant slash. Family reunion, he called. Hoisting her ashore. Up close. She was a hybrid. My freckles on his cheekbones. Sarah's hazel gaze sharpened by salt. Uncle Jen? Soft Boston lilt. Untouched by exile.
Yeah.
Kid. I ruffled her hair. The gesture automatic. Ache blooming. Tommy watched. Gauging, schemer's habit unbroken. We trudged to the cottage. Her chattering about dolphins trailed from Bimini. School on a trawler homeschool pod. Tommy carried the duffel, light now. Remnants of the score.
Inside.
Stove crackling. Cocoa steaming for her. Bourbon for us. Elena curled on the couch with a dog-eared, where the wild things are, oblivious to the undercurrent. You brought her here, I said low. Porch shadows cloaking us. Waves lapped rhythmic. Lighthouse beam arcing overhead like a judgmental eye. After everything. Endgame. Jen, he lit a smoke, Marlboro red. Southie staple. Exhale curling guilty. Rico's done. Hails in ADX Supermax. Feds closed the book. But Tommy Voss? Legend now. True crime fodder. Can't go back. But can't run forever. Elena needs roots. You. Me? Bitter laugh. The Patsy Lighthouse?
Pass.
He flicked ash. Eyes earnest, rare vulnerability. You're the constant. Held the light twice. She's got your blood. Sorta through Ma. Or whatever. And Sarah. She knows. Sent her blessing.
Blessing?
The word soured. I'd confronted Sarah weeks back. Post-release, coffees turning to confessions. Her tears salting the wounds. The boy, Tommy's seed, raised as hers and the venture husband's. Oblivious. Does he know? I'd asked. Not yet. But you do. That's power. Power. Or curse.
Now.
With Elena dozing inside, Tommy laid the flip final. We vanished together. Cash what's left. By a rock like this off Belize. Homeschool. Fish.
Fade.
Brothers raising a Hale Voss. Controversial apex. Abscond with the kid. Dodge warrants. Build a pirate dynasty. Polarize the soul. Nurture the innocent. Or taint her with our rot. Feds hovered. Monthly check-ins. Sarah's texts pleading stay clean. But the sea whispered freedom. Untamed. Dawn gilded the waves as Elena stirred. Demanding pancakes, Bisquick mix. My specialty. We cooked assembly. Her giggles lightening the air. Tommy flipping with flair. Domestic mirage. Fragile as sea glass. Post-breakfast. The choice crystallized. Chopper inbound. Routine welfare. But timing suspect. Tommy's eyes questioned. Elena's trusted. I keyed the radio. All clear. Penobscot. Visitor's kin short stay. Affirmative. But probing. We loaded the whaler quiet. Her backpack. His duffel. My go-bag stashed years for emergencies. No goodbyes. Sarah's note in Elena's pocket. Be brave. Wild thing. As the engine purred to life, Elena hugged me fierce. Come with. Uncle? Tommy's gaze held mine, plea unspoken. The flip. Antagonist redeemed? Or villain recruiting? I untied the bowline. Tossed it aboard. Hold the light for me.
Kid.
I'll follow. They motored out. Specks shrinking against the swell. I climbed the tower one last. Beams spinning farewell. Feds would come. Questions mounting. But warrants fade in fog. Months later. Sarah visited, alone. Wind whipped. Eyes searching. You let them go. Family, I said, handing her coffee. Twisted. But. She nodded. Hand on mine, tentative spark. And us. The beam swept. Indifferent. Twists debate. Redemption in release. Or cowardice cloaked. Happy harbor. Or, by tragic drift. Out there. In the blue. A light holds. Maybe mine.